Good evening, Teresa. How are you?
Hi, Susie.
How are you doing?
I'm grand, thank you. How are you?
Yes, good, thank you. Enjoying the sunshine.
Yes. Have you been out in the garden?
Well, I ate my lunch in the garden, but
Right.
not apart from that today.
Oh, right. Yeah, it is a bit
Yeah.
hot, really. Yeah.
Well, I did spend a couple of hours digging veg plot the 2 days before. I managed to get a couple of hours.
Yeah.
There's lots of weeds and no vegetables in yet. I'm very late.
Well, that's what I've been doing as well this past few days, getting the plants into because I was away for the weekend, and my goodness, they were all just crying out to be planted into the ground. You know.
Yes.
And then the tomatoes, I always end up with far too many tomato plants, and they all wanted repotting into bigger pots, and it all takes ages to do all of that, doesn't it?
It does, yes.
Yeah,
Nice thing to be doing, but it does take a long time.
it does. Yes, yeah, it is. Yeah, as long as you don't feel you should be doing something else.
Yes, that's very true.
Yeah.
I think most of us have that feeling most of the time.
Yes. It's, oh dear, it's awful. What do we do about that? Yeah.
I'm not quite sure. Just stop it. Just stop it.
Yeah, you're quite right. Yeah. Hi, Michelle.
Hi, Shelley.
Hi.
Oh, have you had your hair chopped?
No, I'm sweating like mad. I've just been doing some gardening, so I'm filthy. I can see I've got mud everywhere, but it's all wet and damp at the back of my head.
Ah, yes. Well, it's good on his sweat by the sound of it.
Yeah. I'm a fair weather gardener, I'm afraid. Then I get really into it and get filthy.
Yes. Well, yeah. I can understand being a fair weather gardener. It's not much fun gardening when it's grotty.
It's been so miserable, hasn't it? And I've got all this sort of salad stuff that's trying to come through, and the radishes feel like bullets, and I just have not had any sun, have they?
No. I think a lot of gardeners around here we've all complained that none of the veggies have got going because it's just too cold.
And my hanging baskets just look like they would do normally in April. You know, they're just really miserable. Oh well.
Yeah.
So what's in store for the weekend?
Well, I'll just run this past you. I thought on Friday we could have a bit of an in-depth look at liver detox and what happens when the liver when you're. I'll try and make it as interesting as I can, I promise. It sounds a bit. And then on Saturday, prepare for the juicing and so on and so forth, and any questions about that. But then on Sunday, I thought maybe we could have a look at medical astrology. If I get everybody's birth date and time of birth, and get you to print off your birth chart from the link, if that'd be all right. And then have a look at a bit of health astrology from the birth chart.
What if we don't know what time we were born?
Now what usually happens then is that you assume it's midday that day.
Oh, really?
But another thing to do is to douse a little bit and just ask, have you done any dousing?
No. You have, Shelley, haven't you?
Yeah, I have, yeah.
Well, you find out using a pendant, a favourite pendant, one that you've worn a lot. What is your yes and what is your no? And then ask yourself, was I born at 1 a.m? Was I born at 2 a.m? And then see if you can get as close as possible to a time that you think you were probably born. And see if, because the time of your birth determines the rising sign, as they call it, the ascendant in your birth chart.
Mine's Taurus. Yeah, mine's Taurus. I know that. I know. I do. I've done I've a friend actually who taught medical astrology on the when at the very beginning when Ali was doing a bit of it.
Right.
She's called Beryl Macon. In fact, Teresa, you've been on one of her astrology things, haven't you?
Way back in the dim and distant past.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So she's very into medical astrology and looking at. She's always ringing me up and saying, well, of course, I've got Pluto crossing Pluto, so no wonder I'm feeling like this.
Right. Oh, dear. Well, I think mine sounds as though it'd be very basic.
No, I don't know anything. I'm hopeless, but no, but I think it's very interesting.
Shelley, do you remember she did Clemmie's chart?
Yeah.
And said this was the daughter of a friend of ours, and this girl was starting to do medicine, course of medicine. And Beryl, Shelley, didn't Beryl say that was very puzzling because she thought Clemmie was too creative?
Yeah.
And now Clemmie is teaching English or something, isn't she, Shelley?
Well, she ended up failing some of her exams, didn't she?
Yeah.
And she went on to do English literature because, but it was from the chart that Beryl had said that she was, she was a linguist, she was a literary person, not a. She couldn't see her in an A&E ward, this sort of thing.
Yeah.
So I think she was pushed by her parents into that little channel.
I think she might have been.
I hope she might. So it was really interesting.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Sometimes when babies are born, she'll do a chart for the baby. Not that she's going to predict what, she's going to just say the potential. She said what she always says, I'm saying the potential. She's never going to say whatever. The ones I've known that she's done have been quite amazing when you know the child 18 years later or something.
Yes. Yeah.
I'll tell you whose chart she did. She did Maya's son's chart.
Did she?
And it's really accurate. Not that they believe in anything like that. But... Mind
you, if she knew Maya and Mark, maybe we could all guess.
Yeah.
I'm not a cynic, really. I didn't mean that, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. No, exactly.
It was kind of inevitable.
But I don't think she did particularly, you see, but the actual thing for the child was amazing.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. I think it'd be really interesting to do that, Susie, on Sunday.
And well, I think it can help to maybe have a focus of what would be good to look after it for your health, and that's one of the focuses of it.
Great.
Yeah, it's so that's the thoughts.
Lovely.
Right.
So are you sending us supplements, or are we just going to use our own, or what?
They are in the post. I hope.
Okay.
So yes, yes, I hope they will get to you by Friday.
They will.
Are there many people
got to me this morning? Sorry, what was that?
Have you many people on this weekend?
I think it's either 4 or 5.
Oh, right.
That's all.
Yeah. But 7 people said maybe, and I think it'd be 4 or 5. So we'll just have a little play.
Good.
Yeah.
Quite nice.
Yeah.
And
we were both saying today, Teresa and I, that it's just to keep us on the straight and narrow as well, isn't it, Teresa? We're just going,
yeah.
you know, it'd be really nice just to home back in again.
Yeah. Yes. Yes, it's good to keep having a little focus, and especially through the summer, because it's the very best time to, you know, get the potential for looking after you. It's really lovely. I'm trying to think. Did Jane say she wasn't coming?
I think we should just probably start, because she won't mind. She'll already have all the notes out from the previous time, and we were just saying, Teresa and I were just saying, she's so,
oh gosh,
she's really into it.
Yeah.
So she'll be fine. She'll be fine. Just carry on, because she's normally here. Unless she'll be fine, whatever happens.
Yes.
She'll be fine.
I know that one of the weeks she said she probably wouldn't be, and I couldn't remember which one.
No,
it
you
was.
might be right.
She sent a message.
Has she?
Oh right, I haven't seen that. On airplane.
She's asking if it's 6 or 6:30. Oh, she sent it to our group, Shelley.
She says she's trying to join, but it's it must be the wrong link. Just let's see if we can get the right link. Now how can I copy that? Oops.
Have you talked to her, Teresa? Have you just been texting?
I've just sent her a WhatsApp reply, but she hasn't read it.
Okay. No. Shall I ring her?
Yeah.
Would you mind saying her? I'm just emailing through the Zoom link. That's
Hello.
Hi, Jane. Susie's just resending you the link.
Oh no, I was using the wrong ID and the wrong meeting ID.
Oh, naughty girl.
But I'm here now, and it says, please wait, the meeting host will let you in soon.
Oh, sorry, that's because I'm not there now.
Hi, bye-bye.
There we go.
She was using the wrong link. Sorry.
Oh, you're there.
Voila.
Hello, Jane.
Hi. How are you?
I'm so sorry. I was
to see
using the wrong meeting ID and yeah, sorry.
Don't worry, we've all done it.
Yeah. Yes, it's easily done. There's too many of them.
Sorry, have I held up proceedings or are you in the middle of
No,
things?
I was just trying to remember if this was the week you'd said you weren't going to be around.
Sorry, no, that's next week.
There we go.
Sorry.
So just this weekend, we were going to have a look at liver detoxification and medical astrology.
Oh.
And could I ask you, if you wouldn't mind, to email me your birth date, birthplace, and time of birth? Actually, no, I'll tell you what's easier. Could I email you the link to pop those into the chart that will allow you to print out your own chart?
Yeah.
Yes.
Where you are.
Yeah, that's fine.
How specific do we have to be about place?
Well, it's usually the closest town.
Right.
So, for example, I'm in a village called Ackworth, but I would put Pontefract because Ackworth won't be registered.
Right.
It's only sort of bigger towns that are. Yeah. That's a mysterious and interesting question, Teresa.
No. I just, am I general? Is it Northern Ireland? Is it County Down? Is it Down Patrick?
Oh, I see.
Is it Townland? That was all. Yeah. Yeah.
I thought you were going to say Brigadoon or something. I love that film. Sorry. Has everybody seen it?
No.
Oh, it's an old Gene Kelly film where he rolls up in Ireland and with a friend and gets lost in the mist, and they find themselves in this mysterious Irish village called Brigadoon. And of course, true to form, Hollywood of form, he falls in love with an Irish girl. And then they go back to the Misty Bridge and get back into real life. And Brigadoon disappears.
Oh.
And then I think he finds her again in the end, somehow, because apparently these mists only roll up every now and again or something.
Yeah.
But because there was this love. I just adored Gene Kelly, you see. It was lovely. So, childhood, sort of, right. Here we go. So, vitamin D, very significant for this as we go through, but finally getting a bit of vitamin D. So just a quick overview. The term menopause is really your last period, and sometimes people think they've had their last one, and lo and behold, some months later, yet another one appears. So pre-menopause, the periods are still regular, but early symptoms of menopause may appear. And then to be in perimenopause, they can assess that the ovary function is declining, the periods can become irregular, and some of the symptoms of periods can become more severe. And then postmenopause is defined as beyond. So the average age in the UK is 51 years. And I was quite surprised to see when I looked at all of this that it was that high some time ago. So whether it's early or late, there are factors that can predispose an early menopause or a late one. Smoking can diminish estrogen secretion, which can make it earlier, but not necessarily. Hysterectomy can accelerate the menopause, and it's because there's less of a blood supply to the ovaries, or of course sometimes the ovaries are removed completely with a hysterectomy, and then sterilisation for the same reason. So factors for a late menopause can be carrying weight, because the fat cells produce their own hormones, and estrogen is one of them. With a fibroid, which can also be a predisposing late factor, Barbara Wren used to describe that as a second liver, in that there are excess estrogens being produced that the liver isn't able to break down, and those excess estrogens cause the fibroids to form in the uterus, and they can continue the cycle for that reason.
Are they serious, Susie?
I suppose only in the sense that for some people then they can create very, very heavy periods, which can be really, you know, what's the word, not life reducing, but it's not life enhancing, certainly for some people when they're flooding and so on. Fortunately, once the menopause onsets, they do tend to shrink and disappear. So not, you know, once the excess estrogens problem is ceased. And one of the best ways really to handle that is to support the liver, because then if the liver can deal with the excess estrogens, it's not going to be a problem. And so there are lots of symptoms, or lots of, call them symptoms, that are frequently blamed on menopause. But, you know, the question is, are they due to menopause, or are they due to natural aging processes? Because unfortunately, there are certain bodily changes that occur because there is less estrogen, for example, kicking around. Obviously, hot flushes and night sweats, but they can also relate to hormones and the loss of the cycle. Sleep changes, irritability, libido declining, and associated with that can be vaginal dryness, osteoporosis, weight gain. Again, there can be other factors in irritability, other factors in weight gain. I would say that there's actually something, I think, astrologically, that around the time of age 50, women start not to tolerate fools gladly. And, you know, it might be described as becoming a grumpy old woman, but at the same time, it's also becoming very clear, I think, about what you will and will not tolerate at that age, and having the confidence to stand up for that. Would you agree with that or not?
Yes,
Yes, I would. Yeah.
Aging skin, and again, I think my husband said to me yesterday or the day before, he says, why is it? He says, you're constantly growing new skin cells, he says, when you're older, but they're not like when it's a baby's new skin cells. You keep growing skin cells, but they're kind of old skin cells. And I said, well, unfortunately, you know, that is due to the less efficient our body can become as we get older at absorbing nutrients, but also because, you know, of sunshine and other factors that can cause damage to skin cells. So yes, it is, you know, it's one of those things where I think we've kind of, because of all the plastic surgery and the Botox and so on that's available, there is sort of a lesser tolerance of the idea that one might possibly get a bit older, look a bit older. Anyway, headaches, mood swings, depression, possibility, anxiety, again, can be other reasons for those two. Lack of energy, again, can be other reasons for that. Diabetes late onset diabetes, for example. Joint pains, hair loss and changes in hair quality, and again can be other hormonal reasons for that. And so again, with PMT versus menopause, are there symptoms there that can be, you know, because of a lower, because there is PMT present, they can be symptoms that are running up to the menopause as well. And there's a lot of similarities. And so one of the difficult things is that after menopause, our hormones are declining towards the levels of pre-adolescence. And in a way, there's nothing wrong with that, because I think the difficulty is that estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, they get far more hot press, if you like, than adrenaline and cortisol. But adrenaline and cortisol are far more likely to have an adverse effect on your health. You know, estrogen, progesterone and testosterone, once they decline, are less likely to cause so much of an issue as adrenaline and cortisol. If there's high levels of estrogen, testosterone, then yes, that can cause a problem, but that can be less likely unless they're coming in environmentally, from the diet and so on. And so your ovaries gradually decrease production, and it can take about 15 years for that process to wind down. So if you think of the last period and then add 15 years onto that, it's then that the adrenals will start to take over from generating enough estrogen, progesterone, testosterone for the functions that they do perform that are necessary, and their building block, DHEA, which is one of the precursors for those three. But if the adrenals are overproducing adrenaline and cortisol because the person has a lot of stress, then they have, your adrenals will do that first before producing these other hormones. So they will take priority if there's a lot of stress present. So it's really thinking about the impact of stress on libido, for example, but on just generally on your adrenals' ability to produce these other hormones. So if there is an overproduction of cortisol, it throws other hormones out of balance. For example, a classic one with overproduction of cortisol is that cortisol blocks progesterone anyway, and progesterone would normally help thyroid manage your metabolism. And so if you're very stressed and you're blocking any low levels of progesterone there are around, you're also going to be of detriment to the thyroid gland and thyroxine production and your ability to use thyroxine, and so to manage weight and energy and metabolism. And at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, like between 3 and 5 in the morning, you have a low cortisol level, a naturally low one. Between 3 and 5 in the afternoon, it's at its peak. And so if there's any sort of 4 heures habits, as the French would say, they have their afternoon tea, 4 heures, their 4 o'clock treat, that include caffeine and sugar. 4 o'clock is like the premenstrual stage of the menstrual cycle in terms of your cortisol. And so if you do something different at that point, like burn off, some of that, or put yourself into a more peaceful, calm state. So go for a walk, you know, take a 40 wink, have a little meditation. I join a little meditation group at 4 every day for 20 minutes. Get in touch with your sort of inner feelings and wisdom at that time with the meditation, and try and avoid caffeine and sugar at that time, and maybe have some water.
It's so true, because last time when we did this last time, it just really rang a chord with me, because that's when I, you know, I'm not as bad as I was, but that was my weak spot there, 4 o'clock.
Yes.
It's really interesting the way you describe it. Was like, oh, light bulb moment.
Yeah. It's interesting to know, isn't it? Actually, they do say that at 4 o'clock in the afternoon as well, and I don't know, I'm still trying to figure the connection. At 4 o'clock in the afternoon, they reckon that your skin will best absorb any moisturising, any form of moisturiser that you use on it at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So, not quite sure what that's about. So disturbed sleep. Several reasons for that, really. One of the things can be that your gut flora ratios change after menopause. So that's partly natural process, and can be perhaps about changes in lifestyle as well. But they've noticed that there are also natural changes in the gut flora. Now, this is why it's so good to feed the gut flora as best you can, because they produce 80% and more, 80 to 90% of our serotonin, which is a serenity hormone that helps us to sleep. And these are the other prefactors that we need to make our serotonin. So, you know, our B complex, tryptophan amino acid, and choline B vitamin. But additionally, it's because melatonin produced by the pineal is made from serotonin. And again, we need those prefactors. And so magnesium also, we've mentioned about for sleep a couple of weeks ago, relaxing the muscles, pushing the calcium into the right place to calm central nervous system. When your pituitary is negotiating all the hormonal changes at the menopause or perimenopause and so on, it uses a lot of magnesium in order to help that rebalancing process as well. And this is why people can find themselves suffering things like hot sweats and night sweats and so on. Also, we've mentioned vitamin D, supporting magnesium's role a couple of weeks ago with calcium, and omega-3 is helping you to make really good docking sites for the receptors, the serotonin to dock into, and also helping you to regulate your stress hormones and to help your whole endocrine system, right from pituitary down, pineal, thyroid, pancreas, endocrine, reproductive glands and so on, adrenals. So one of the other things that we often don't get now particularly, and even just because there's so many street lights around, does anybody have a street light outside the bedroom window?
No.
No. Oh, lovely.
Opposite.
We might have.
Opposite. Yeah.
Yeah.
We do here. We very soon got nightlight blinds to put in as well, to cut not to cut out the daylight, which is nice, but just to cut out this horrible nightlight. And so ideally, we could do with 2 to 4 hours of low blue light. And so blue blocking glasses can be an idea if you have to be on the screen sort of 2 to 4 hours before bedtime. Sorry about this. And avoiding, you know, any phone, computer, iPad time before bed is a really helpful thing. TV, exactly the same. Because for your melatonin production to go into full flow, it needs full darkness at night, but it also ideally needs with plenty of light during the day. And so this is why summer is so lovely to sleep for sleep, because we jump out into the sunshine, which helps all of your hormone production through the signal going through your eyes. As I think we were saying probably last week. And then you've got total darkness at night, ideally. And the other thing to do, if you can, is switch off any Wi-Fi routers and that kind of thing, and telephones, anything that is going to produce EMFs. Even unplugging televisions is great, because they give off a lot of EMF, particularly now. So for reducing hot flushes or night sweats, one of the ways, we had a great tutor when I was training, who got us to think about how when your kidneys are dry, it's because they've no water, it's a little bit like if they've no water and they're dry and they can't handle balancing your electrolytes and cleaning the wastes like uric acid and so on that they need to clean, and the liver is the same, that with the stress on both those organs, we will use our skin far more heavily as a route of elimination. And so it's a little bit like your kidneys being like a kettle that just before it goes bang, it's boiling dry and the steam is coming off it through your skin. I always thought that was a really good analogy, but it's probably a bit too literal. It's not literal, but so cutting down on any stimulants, caffeine, alcohol, and so on, chocolate, and the food and supplements that can help if it's an issue are vitamin C, vitamin E. Always have C in if you're going to take vitamin E, and bioflavonoids. So your liver at the menopause. So we were saying that it's your liver that processes any excess estrogens so they can safely be removed from the body. But it's also filtering your blood, secreting your bile, optimizing your thyroid function by breaking T4 down into T3. It's converting sugar to glycogen, breaking down fat to make energy. And what I've found is that there are some people, not everybody, but some people find if they drink alcohol, that then they do get a night sweat, whereas normally they wouldn't get a night sweat if they don't. And caffeine the same can be a trigger for it. And so keeping those in moderation allow your liver to function efficiently after losing that route of elimination, because undoubtedly, you know, having that fifth route of elimination gives the ability to cope with the detox of alcohol and caffeine before menopause. And what's really interesting is that they also know, this is just something you might like to pass on to daughters or younger friends, that from days 1 to 14, the women's ability to process caffeine, the half-life of caffeine is about 6 hours, I think. But the half-life of caffeine days 15 to 29 is about 14 hours, 12 to 14 hours. So
you keep it in your system for 12 to 14 hours?
Yes, you only detox about half of it in 12 to 14 hours.
Okay. After we'd done our detox last time, and I ended up going somewhere, and I had a very nice but a very strong cup of coffee. And I was waiting for somebody, so I had this cup of coffee, and then she arrived and she ordered 2 more coffees. Now I hadn't had anything, and that night, my God, I just couldn't sleep. I'd never felt it so strongly before, but I enjoyed the coffee. But my goodness, I just had a terrible night.
Yes,
I can understand what you know. That makes so much sense.
And then, of course, once we lose that route of elimination, we're in a similar position. And I think it's tricky because men are generally bigger than women. And because of that, they have bigger organs. They have an ability very often to process things very differently because they are much less susceptible to hormone activity. Because even after menopause, we, for example, will still detox drugs differently than what a male does. And this is only just recently been acknowledged, probably in about the last 5 to 10 years. Because I think I've already said they used to do all the research on men, didn't they? Because women have the audacity to have periods and not give very, consistent results in research studies. So with libido, you're back to cholesterol again, because research absolutely confirms dietary and high cholesterol are not risk factors for cardiovascular disease, because it's not cholesterol that is, causing that furring up of the arteries. It's low vitamin C usually. So your brain and your nervous system are about 50% cholesterol, and you need cholesterol also to make full vitamin D once you've got, precursors and so on from the sun, and you need it to make your steroid hormones, which includes sex hormones. So if your overall cholesterol levels are low, you can't manufacture enough hormones to keep system, that body system running efficiently. And so depression, low testosterone, low sex drive can be the result. And so with vitamin D, same thing. It's keeping those levels optimal, ideally, getting as much as possible from natural sunlight, and jumping out into the sun at every opportunity, partly because it helps prevent anxiety and depression, but also because low cholesterol, low vitamin D, both poor libido producers. So vaginal dryness. Now, this is partly contributed to by low estrogen levels. So the vaginal walls do become thinner, and blood flow is more restricted because of that. So there is less lubrication. They do say use it or lose it, because sorry about that, folks. Because obviously that brings blood flow. But I think I possibly mentioned last time that jade eggs are a way of increasing blood flow to the vagina, because there's a little set of exercises that you can do, and the lady for that is Saida Desilets, SAIDA DESILETS.
Jade eggs. So those aren't the Gwyneth Paltrow things, are they?
Oh, I don't know. She talked about them.
She got slated for some sort of eggs or something, but I don't know. I don't know.
Oh, right.
But jade, is that proper jade then?
Yes, yes. They're not inexpensive. I think they're about 60, 70 pounds.
Right.
And but what she says is that exercising, she sees that, you know, the female yoni, as it's called in the East, I think, as if you exercise that area of your body, those hormones that get renourished and replenished also feed other parts of your body. And so it's looking at the body more as a whole, and thinking about it from that perspective as well. And so the walls lining the bladder and the urethra can shrink also, becoming thinner and drier. But there's a few things. So hydration is really helpful. Linseed tea is enormously helpful for helping that hydration. And then omega-7, which is, although you can make omega-7 from, if you've got omega-3 and omega-6, you can make any of the other omegas. But omega-7 particularly is found in sea buckthorn oil, which you can take as a supplement. And you know, I've worked with a lot of people who have found it very helpful. So also then you've got your antioxidants, A, D and E, which are all of your fat-soluble antioxidants, and will contribute to things like the health of your goblet cells, that are sort of those little mucus-producing mucus-producing cells that line any area, you know, from digestion to vagina, etc., that need that moistness being produced.
Susie, is that why we seem to pee more now because we're older, because of the thinning of the skin?
In the bladder and so on.
Yeah.
Yes, it can be a contributing factor. Reduce, I suppose it's difficult to say, because stress is also a factor. And also getting the omega-3 right can also impact, you know, to hold the water in the body, and looking at that as well. But yes, I guess one of the things can be that when the skin becomes thinner, if the urine happens to be more acidic because you're stressed, or because, you know, there are other factors for that, then usually dietary, but, you know, that wouldn't be the case because I know you have a very vegan diet. It's that if there's any acidity, that does make urine more uncomfortable for the bladder to hold if the skin is thinner.
Right. Okay.
And also, I think at any age, it's certainly good for women to do a bit of toning of the all of the pelvic floor muscles. So things in yoga like your bridge, and, you know, raising up slowly from the tailbone and pulling everything in is really helpful. Because it's like the internal skin, external skin, but also muscle tone. You know, that the spleen, it's that aging process, unfortunately, with muscles, that all of them need toning in every bit. Anywhere you've got a muscle, it needs toning. And yeah, so thinking about Japan, because they don't tend to have a menopause, but they do have, generally their traditional diet is very fish-based, very high in phytoestrogens, and obviously lots of vegetables. And so things like your unsaturated fats are helpful. They've no dairy, and their foods are high in these phytoestrogens. And there's a little list there. But again, the fermented ones are better. And the more organic, the more artisan produced they are, the better. So generally your sort of supermarket produced are not going to be the same, and particularly not now because of all the GM argument. And so other foods that are rich in phytoestrogens, we've got whole grains, things like your sprouted beans, your mung beans, ajuki beans, all of that. Any of your pulses, again, lovely soaking cooking. And then you've got your seeds, and golden mint seeds are a lovely source of phytoestrogens. So other foods, apples, celery, plums, cherries, broccoli and garlic are all lovely. And then you've got things like cinnamon and sage, of course, which is known to be a helper for menopause, along with red clover. And then things like hops and fennel is lovely, and parsley also. Just dousing, you know, everything with fresh parsley is a good idea. And fennel is a really lovely thing to bake and include. So then you've also got what they call the biochemistry of pleasure. And one of the important things for the physiology of maintaining natural highs is the production of nitric oxide, because of the really beneficial effect it has on blood vessel walls and so on. And so that's triggered by pleasure experiences like laughter, orgasm, meeting up with people, exercise, the runner's high, for example, meditation, and getting into the alpha state, eating fruit and veg, and foods high in antioxidants. Those foods are lovely for contributing to the production of nitric oxide. So nitric oxide is something that gets released and just lasts for a few seconds. But obviously, if you're laughing a lot, then you're producing more. So the nitric oxide triggers a whole chain reaction of feel-good chemicals. So it gives a lift in energy, it helps the body relax, and physiologically, your blood vessel walls relax, the vessels widen, and you get increased blood flow. So I suppose this is why, you know, if you've had a really good giggle for a few hours, you can be quite pink and rosy and sort of, you know, look very glowy. And then what else does it do? So it helps anticoagulant factors in the blood, which help prevent strokes. From an immune system perspective, it signals your white blood cells to fight infection. So you're raising immunity. You destroy tumours with that, you know, immune system raising, or any beginnings. And it helps balance neurotransmitter levels. So things like your serotonin, your serenity hormone, your dopamine for get up and go, your acetylcholine for memory. It reduces cellular inflammation. And so all of that is helping the body produce these lovely, soft, flexible blood vessels, along with your omega-3, along with your magnesium, both important factors, which helps improve circulation. The body will be able to function better, and we can avoid serious illness. So it's true to say that often, you know, the more stressed we are, the less nitric oxide we'll produce, and the more of all of this can go on.
Susie, where does the nitric acid oxide come from? Sorry, I don't know anything about it.
You put me on the spot now. Where does the nitric?
I don't remember discussing this last time at all.
No. Oh, the nitric oxide.
Yeah.
No.
I thought we did. Maybe we didn't. I'm a bugger for sticking new bits in.
No, it's really interesting, but
I think it's released into the bloodstream, but I'm just trying to think where from, and I can't remember. Will you let me check?
Yeah, but is it something? To be honest, I've never really. I just didn't know anything about it. It sounds like it should be bad for you.
It does, doesn't it? Yes. And I'm really glad you've asked me that, because it's such an important question to know the answer to. And I'm thinking, yes, where does it actually get produced from? I just know it gets released into the body. Yeah, really good question. Thank you. It's because, let me see, where did I first hear about it? That lovely lady, Christian Northrup, mentioned it. And so I sort of went down a rabbit hole having a look at what it was useful for. And this is just a list of things that Herbert Benson, an American doctor, he rates it as really important for the neuroplasticity of your brain in later life, because it is connected to that peak experience, as he calls it, of ecstatic flow. And I suppose it's one of those things where they do say that people who have a positive outlook in life can live for 7 years longer than somebody who has maybe a negative outlook on life, say. And I know it's not the only factor, but nitric oxide allows these new neural pathways to be created in the brain. So it's not just affecting your blood flow. If you think about the blood flow enabling that new nerve production, so therefore you've got new information pathways, new habits of mind can be created, contributing to, creative process, spiritual experience, etc. I might be taking things a bit far, but this is what he was waxing lyrical about, so I thought, well, I'll stick it in anyway.
Very interesting.
Yeah, and so unfortunately, on the other side, anger, grief, and fear will deplete nitric oxide, and then if the lining of your blood vessels gets damaged by stress and physical toxins, your body is struggling to release that nitric oxide from the blood vessels to reduce the free radical damage. Yeah, and so, yes, if we're using cholesterol to make stress hormones, then we haven't got it left for libido hormones. Basically.
So is there a test that you can tell how much nitric oxide you've got? Could you, how do you know?
That's a really good question.
I'm really interested in this now.
I think maybe the thing to do is to try and do something each day that makes you laugh. Because they say laughter is the best medicine, don't they?
You just think of all those old people in care homes,
I
and
know.
and obviously they must. The depression must just get worse and worse, mustn't it? Because
yes. So this is Christiane Northrup, because she talks about being an ageless, healthy goddess, which I think is a lovely aim to think of it not as, you know, these wise old crones that they're always going on about, but an ageless, healthy goddess is the thing to aim for. So who says that you can't have a few wrinkles when you're an ageless, healthy goddess? She talks about releasing grief and resentment, feeling righteous anger when appropriate, feeling, you know, getting in touch with joy and compassion. And she also talks about having some wing women. And I think you three are such a lovely example of that, because, you know, you are each other's wing women, which is lovely. And all of that helps to produce nitric oxide, which helps balance your endorphins, your feel good, you know, hormones, and neurotransmitters, dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, that connection with others, DMT for your pineal, and your cells throughout your body, if they're producing and receiving, oh, that might be the answer, nitric oxide, that is what helps create that agelessness. So food that is high in nitrates is useful. And there's a little list there. Garlic is amazing, isn't it? Because it's great for phytoestrogens, it's great for nitrates. And I must admit, I tend to have it in something every single day for at least one meal, if not two. Spinach, and this is probably why, when we used to go to banks to pay things in, I visited the bank. Did I say this? And I was in the queue. Have I said this before? And I got to the front of the queue. And before I got to the counter, the lady who was behind an enormous glass screen said in a very loud voice, "Oh, has somebody been eating garlic?" I said, "Maybe." "Oh, I can smell it from here." And I felt so embarrassed, because there were about half a dozen people in the queue behind me. Anyway, bok choy, arugula, all the lovely green leaves, lettuce, celery, absolutely fantastic. Cress, chervil, more green leaves, and beetroot is fantastic too. So beetroot and celery are just two lovely vegetables to, you know, to bring in. And so chopping some spinach into chopping some celery into a salad to bump that up, using it as a channel for something, you know, like maybe a little bit of hummus or tahini or something, and adding beetroot in as well. And nitric oxide is lovely from the perspective of managing blood sugar as well, because it helps regulate insulin in the body. And then also, in terms of nitric oxide production, arginine, one of the amino acids, is helpful, and that is high in your nuts and seeds. So including some of those. So I did a Buddha bowl for lunch today, and one of the things I popped in it was steamed courgette, and then quickly made a homemade pesto, just pulling lots of basil leaves off, and then some sun-dried tomatoes, some olive oil, some sunflower seeds that I'd soaked because I didn't have any cashews in, and 3 cloves of garlic, whizzed it all up and stirred that into the courgette, and then a bit of salad, bit of beetroot, bit of
Sounds lovely.
There we go.
That was interesting.
Yeah.
You'll send us those. Will you send us those?
Oh
notes?
yes,
Yeah.
yes. You know, today I just had this horrible thought this afternoon. Did I not send anything last week? I had this horrible feeling I didn't send you anything. Session 9.
On the moon.
Yes.
Well, I've got that from before, so
I've got up from before.
yeah.
Right.
No, you did. I don't think you did,
Did
Susie.
I? No, I don't think I did. I'm really sorry. I'll send them both out together. Yes.
I don't think we discussed the nitric oxide last time.
No,
Certainly
no,
didn't.
you're
No,
right.
I've been looking at my old notes, and we finished at the slide that showed the fennel, the phyto herbs and spices, with nothing after that. Yeah.
It's just something that I wanted to pop in, and because I thought it's quite exciting and new things come along.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, and
yeah, definitely.
It sort of connects to that research that I'd seen several years ago about, you know, if you have a positive attitude, you live longer, and that sort of thing. And you sort of think, well, why is that? And then that sort of helps explain a little bit why laughter is so important.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's an interesting one.
Very much so.
Yeah, lots of other benefits. You know, thinking about when you're laughing, or your blood vessel walls kind of going.
I love it when you get to that stage where you know you can't hold it in any longer, and you've got to really laugh.
Yes.
Even if it's in an embarrassing place. Really.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, it's very, very, very useful. That.
Yes, that was great. Thank you.
Yeah, it was really interesting. Thank you for doing it, Susie. It's lovely.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any questions about that one?
Fast enough.
No.
Can I just ask you about over the weekend? What sort of time are we going to talk? It's only because I want to plan my weekend, really. But
oh yes. Well, I've been typing in today. I wondered whether to do 8:15, which is kind of between 8 and 8:30. But we could do 8:15 on Friday and 8:30 on the weekend.
I don't mind. I don't mind. It's just early's better. It's good for me. Early's fine.
Early better. How about yourself, Teresa?
I do either anything suits me.
Anything.
I'm happy. 8:15 is fine.
8:15
or 8:30, whatever works for everybody else.
Okay.
I'm happy with 8:15.
We'll go for it.
If there's only 4 or 5 of us, we're 3 of the 5 then.
Yes. Yes. That's right. Yeah.
Is that okay for you, Susie?
Sorry.
What works for you time-wise?
Oh yes, 8:15 is good. Yes, that sounds good to me too. And
will you send in a new link, Susie?
I will be. Yes. I have meant. I'm kind of halfway through it. Sorry about this. Yes. I don't know why, but I keep promising things and then sending them out about 2 or 3 days later.
Okay. Yeah.
Failed. But yes, we will. So I'll send out what we're going to do, the Zoom link, the time, and then we can set up any one-to-one if necessary. Have a quick look at the moon on Saturday as well, and yeah. And so if you wanted, if you've kept on with your skin brushing and your hot and cold showers, but if not, you might like to get back on with them.
Yeah.
And,
Get back on the straight and narrow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah, good.
yes, I'll send out suggestions.
I got my Ocado order this morning, and I've ordered in all the stuff. It's just, the fridge is just full of stuff.
Full of things to juice and things.
Yeah,
That's it.
Yeah.
At
Yeah.
least I know I can get the organic stuff. You know, I know what I can get. So
Yeah.
I've got to do that tomorrow.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah, lovely.
Send out a list. So next week is oh, 5 flavors. Yeah, and life.
Oh yeah. And we're doing that on Tuesday, aren't we?
oh yes, that's right.
Yes, that's right. Good.
Oh, I'm glad you reminded me.
I'm glad you said that.
I am.
Yes, because you're going to Ireland, aren't you, Teresa?
I haven't booked it yet, but that wasn't the reason we moved, was it?
Oh, that
No,
wasn't. Oh,
because
right.
I'm not available Wednesday evening.
Susie, wasn't it something to do with your mum or your dad or something? Wasn't it something to do with your mum's birthday?
Oh yes, that's right. Yes, so you're not available on Wednesday, Jane.
That's right.
6:15. Would you? That's right. Did I ask? Would you mind if we did 6:45?
I think you did. Yeah, it's fine with me.
Fine with me.
And it was all right. Yeah. Oh, that's good, because I was thinking, yeah, no, that's great. Thank you. Yep, that's lovely.
So it's Tuesday at 6:45.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you. Lovely. This event, right?
Yeah.
Lovely. Now I know where I am.
Okay.
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 Yeah.
That was lovely.
Okay.
And so we'll see you on Friday morning.
Oh yes, and I'll see you tomorrow evening, Teresa.
Yes, lovely. That's great. Yes,
That's
6 o'clock. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes.
Thanks, Susie.
Thank
You're
you.
looking well, Teresa.
Thank you, too. Thank you, dear.
You are. Jane,
You are.
Okay, I'll take it. I'll take that.
Take it. Yes. We're wing women. Yes.
Yes.
That's the book I got you for your birthday. That's that slide. Goddesses never age or something.
That's right. Yes.
Did you?
Yeah, I've yet to start it, Shell.
Yeah,
but
well, I don't blame you, but I just
Oh yes.
from, and I thought, oh, I'll get that for Jane for her birthday.
Oh yes.
yes,
There
it's
you go.
fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Yeah. She talks about nitric oxide.
Yeah.
Oh right, I'll read
Now
it.
we'll know where it's from.
You'll know where it's from. I'm a real yes.
Can we order it from Nutrigold?
Sorry.
Can
What's
we
that?
order it from Nutrigold?
Nutrigold.
No, I'm only joking. It's fine. It's fine.
I'm confused.
Joking. Joking.
So is that an in joke?
No,
No, it's just a silly joke, wasn't it? Doesn't it say that? It wasn't a joke.
So oh god, yes, Christiane Northrop. Yes,
Yeah.
I pinched it from her. I'm afraid.
Well, it's good.
I'm what you call a little burglar.
That's good. Good.
Constantly reading and thinking, oh, that's interesting. I'd like to share that.
Yeah, that's very good. Very good. Lovely. We'll see you Friday morning then, Susie.
Yes, see you Friday morning.
And enjoy tomorrow.
Yes, have a lovely sunshiny day, I hope.
No.
It's about to pour down here. It looks horrible.
Oh,
Really? Oh, it's absolutely glorious here.
No, it was lovely. It's just come over while we've been here. The door slammed. That's why I left. I thought, what's going on? It's the wind. It's just come.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
They did say the thunderstorms were going up your way, weren't they?
Thinking about
Mm.
it.
Yeah.
About to hit us. So I'll leave it.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you. Good night.
See you
Bye
tomorrow.
bye.
Good night. See you tomorrow, Teresa. See you. Bye.